Project 6 in the Competent Communicator Manual is entitled Vocal Variety, and the objectives of this project are to use voice volume, pitch, rate and quality to reflect and add meaning and interest to your message, to use pauses to enhance your message, to use vocal variety smoothly and naturally, and the time for this speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Our speaker tonight is a bit of a born-again Toastmaster. He was a member of Toastmasters in Castlecourt back in Owl God's time, and he completed his Competent Toastmaster Manual there. So his reincarnation happened when he joined Westport Toastmasters a couple of years ago, and he went back to the beginning. So he is now here to complete his level 6 speech. Always entertaining and passionate about his subject, will you please welcome, with a speech entitled Sounds of a Life, Mr. Liam Egan.
Thank you. Madam Toastmaster, friends, October winds lament around the castle of Dromore, but peace is in her lofty halls, a hushlegan restore. Though autumn leaves may droop and die, a bud of spring are you. Sing hush-a-by-loo, lo-loo, lo-land. Sing hush-a-by-loo, lo-land. That's the first sound that I remember. The first sound I remember from my life. I don't know what age I was, maybe 3, 4, but I remember. But it's not just the sound. It's the fact that I remember looking up at my mother's face as she sang it to me to try and put me to sleep. And the sound was about caring, and it was about comfort, and it was about cosseting. It was the sound of my childhood. And it made me realize when I was preparing this, that going through my life, there are a series of sounds. Sounds that have marked times in my life, and that have given me memories, both good and bad. And while that was the first one, the second sound I remember was the echo. When I was young, we would find our way into the countryside to special places. Places where you could stand, usually on the top of a hill, and shout, usually your name, and stop, and listen as your name reverberated back to you. The echo was hugely important to us. Nobody is interested in echoes anymore. Nobody goes to places to hear their echoes. Why? I think probably because until the 1960s, the only way that you could hear your own voice was through an echo. The arrival, or I suppose the popularity, of the tape recorder in the 1960s meant you could record your own voice and you could listen to it and you could go, oh my God, was that me? But that changed everything. It meant that the echo died. It meant we could hear our own voices. And usually, as I said, it was in the country. There was a time in Ireland, which people find a bit unusual, when the town was the quiet place and the country was the noisy place. Nowadays, towns are just constant hums and traffic and people going up, boom, 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 in their cars. And our countryside has gone silent. The countryside of my childhood was anything but silent. There was a rasping sound on a summer's night of the corncrake. There was the cuckoo. There was the shuffling and snorting of badgers. And there was that ethereal sound of the Mian Éireach, the jack snipe. We never saw it, but it was such a wondrous creature. People assumed it was magical, the little goat of the air. I carried that with me. That was my childhood sound. Of course, like most Irish people, I had difficulty with the language. because there are certain sounds we Irish don't pronounce. The double T. I know I teach English, this is a real problem. The double T. B-U-T-T-E-R should be pronounced, I'll try it, butter. It's not. For Irish people, it's either butter or butter. It's just a sound we can't deal with. And when I ended up in Africa, I found myself in exactly the same position, because living in Kenya, I had to deal with people, and in fact ended up teaching through Swahili, and I had to learn Swahili. And Swahili has all this juxtaposition of consonants that just simply don't make sense to us. They just simply don't work. NG at the beginning of a word. Words like ngombe, mwalimu, mwanafunzi. Wonderful sounds, but sounds that are completely alien to us. And I used to visit friends of mine who had children, and I learned another lullaby. A lullaby in Swahili. Malaika nakupenda malaika, malaika nakupenda malaika, nami nifanyeje kijana mwenzio, nashindwa na mali sina we, ingekuwa malaika. It simply says malaika is the Swahili for angel, angel my angel, be careful. Lovely sound. A sound that I remember with great joy and happiness. But not all sounds, not all of the sounds of Africa were happy sounds. There was one sound that absolutely haunts me. And it comes to me at the oddest of times, in the quiet times at night time. Picture the scene. I'm sitting on the back of a pickup truck full of food aid sacks. I'm sitting there with a shotgun across my knees. And we're driving up through northern Kenya, into Somalia, into southern Ethiopia. The shotgun is to deter the shifter rebels, whose main source of income seemed to be, they're now pirates, but at the time they would rob food convoys. And we're driving through this incredible, empty, drought-stricken desert, or semi-desert. And it's silent. It is absolutely silent, except for one sound. And it's the sound of shuffling feet. The sound of thousands of people as they are making their way across this bleak landscape to get to a feeding station. And as I say, it haunts me. And now I've come full circle. 2 weeks ago, I went to visit my son and my grandchildren. And I have a granddaughter called Aliha, who is a notoriously bad sleeper. Maybe I was when I was a child. And it's difficult, they can't get her to sleep. And when she was in my arms at one particular point in the afternoon, I did what seemed completely natural. I began to sing to her. And I began to sing the Castle of Dromore, and I never got past the second verse. She was gone. She was out. It made me realize it works. The Castle of Dromore works. The lullaby works. I wonder will she remember in 40 or 50 years' time the face and the sound of the voice that put her to sleep.